russosbrand.com, where the pros are the pros.
Well, TNA has pissed off a bunch of their wrestlers, as some of them have
can we stop right there? Can TNA wrestlers freaking stop? I don't understand these people that have been in the wrestling business and then shit goes down and they forget it's the wrestling business. What business do these people think they're in that they're pissed off that people get released?
I don't know, and I think you kind of said the key word that it is a business.
Jeez, I swear to God, and it's always TNA. It's always the TNA talent that are crying over people getting released. Jesus, God, seriously, what do you think? What business do you think you're in? Go ahead.
You're in a business.
God, go ahead.
Well, not only are the talent voicing their frustrations on Twitter, but a lot of people are scratching their heads over this one. As it's been reported, TNA has fired Gail Kim, who was doing talent relations, and now that job will go to Tommy Dreamer.
Bro, can we stop? Can we stop the head scratching for a second? Gail Kim has been burying the WWE longer than I have. Okay, so now TNA is under the WWE umbrella. Okay, Gail Kim gets released because she's been burying the WWE for the last 25 years, and I'm gonna scratch my head over that? Like, seriously, bro? All right, go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the rumor of why.
Yeah, of course.
She was let go. The rumor was that she's known for pushing back on the higher-ups in the company.
I've kind of heard that a little bit because I saw the report that she had been let go, and then a couple of people I'd spoken to had mentioned that. But now, telegraph, telephone, television, telewrestler, there's no guarantee that that's actually the case, and we're not going to know. I mean, and there's no need for us to know, quite honestly.
But even if that is the case, bro, why am I scratching my head? If I am a higher up, I don't want people pushing back. Like, if I am a higher up, do what I freaking say or go work someplace else. Like, seriously, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting situation where a lot of times you'll get, higher ups that are not a part of the wrestling business. And again, we've discussed this. This business is like every other business, and yet it's like no other business. And the people that are within it do, rightfully so, understand a lot of the nuance and in unique characteristics that this business has. And a lot of people that come into it don't. And I think that's where you start to get a little bit of friction. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you've got to ask yourself, how much responsibility do you have? How much of the shit sandwich, if things go upside down, are you going to eat? And then you've got, if a person above you, a higher up, has got more of that responsibility, well, then they have more rights to tell you what to do, because at the end of the day, they're going to get a bigger portion of the shit sandwich that when things go upside down. So you got to kind of acquiesce, and curb your passion and take direction, even if it's something that you don't feel is the correct thing to do.
Yeah, and I want to be perfectly clear. I love Gail Kim. I got no issues with Gail Kim whatsoever, but this is the freaking wrestling business, guys.
Well, it's becoming especially these larger platforms on every level. It's becoming a lot more corporate, a lot more regular world than what it used to be. It used to be the business you and I were in, Vince. That was the wrestling business. It was ran by wrestling people. I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I don't know necessarily if it's a good thing, because let's face it, a lot of the fate of WCW and its fall was due to a lot of non-wrestling people, outside of the wrestling world, operating it and not understanding the nuance of it. And a lot of the success of WWF/WWE is because it was operated by wrestling people that were really at the helm, and now it's been taken over by, more. It's become more corporate once Vince went, public, and it's gotten even more so now, and the environment has changed. Some to the positive, some would argue a little bit, to the negative. It's not going to be the traditional wrestling business. It's going to become more of an entertainment company. And in that vein, TNA has been for several years being operated by a television company, not by a wrestling company with not wrestling bred executives, but television bred executives. And so there's bound to have some situations there.
Yeah, it's funny, Al, when you talk about the old wrestling business, because, sometimes I just, if it's on my YouTube feed, I'll love watching the old wrestling interviews, interviews. And I was just and I did not know this. I was just watching Jim Myers. And Jim Myers was very, very tight with Vince Sr. because George the Animal Steel was like huge over. So he was really tight with Vince. And bro, he was telling a story of when the reason Vince McMahon Jr. became an announcer is there was an old WWE announcer and the boys really, really liked him. He was over with the locker room and he asked for more money. And Vince Sr. replaced him with Vince Jr. So Jim Myers was saying from the get-go, Vince Jr. had all kinds of heat on him because it was the boss's son. And Vince Sr. actually had to tell Jim to keep an eye out for my son because Sr. knew that they freaking hated Vince because he put Vince in that spot. But can you imagine, bro, Vince McMahon having heat from the boys? Can you imagine?
Well, they would have tried to crack him. They'd have tried to break him and get him to quit. They'd have ribbed him. Yeah. And you'd have had you'd had to have a couple of the other boys to watch out for him and look out for him.
And you want to hear an interesting story out? Jim Myers was talking about, so the boys really did not like Vince Jr., right? So they were in a town, bro, and like all the boys were in a room backstage or wherever they were, right? And some type of, local radio personality walks into this room. And this guy was cocky and arrogant, and the heels and the baby faces were playing cards together and all that shit,
And he put the bullseye on himself.
Well, so he walks back. I knew it. Look at you guys playing cards together. I knew it. Jim Myers says freaking Vince Jr. snatched the guy, threw him up against the wall, and physically threw his ass out. And he said that's what got Vince over with the dressing room. Because and Al, he said Vince, because of kayfabe. Kayfabe was a big thing back then. Vince is trying to, and he said when Vince Jr. did that, he had the entire locker room after that.
And I'm sure he did because he protected the business. He protected the lie. And again, let's make it clear. Everyone always knew it was a lie, but you didn't want to expose it. When you're lying, you don't want to sit there and go, "Hey, I just want you to know I'm not telling you the truth." You don't want to ever do that because then it makes it more difficult to lie and get the other party to believe the lie. Younger audience that's listening, they're not going to understand the importance of that because they're not going to understand how much that locker room, those guys that were in it, 100% relied on the wrestling business as a source of income for their family, and that was why they were so desperate to protect the lie, so scared, so paranoid, and rightfully so, that if they ruined the lie, it was going to damage their ability to make a living.